Thanks for joining us. We have another update for you on that breaking news we've been following all evening. Right now, we are waiting for a press conference from Boise Fire about a building collapse near the Jackson Jet Center and the Boise Airport. Boise Fire says search and rescue efforts are currently underway. It happened at West Rickenbacker Street and Luke Street. We're going to show you video of the scene now. We've been getting a lot of video in from viewers. This is video from the freeway. You can see Wright Street there where all of those police cars are lined up. We also saw ambulance there. As this viewer drives around, you can see the building a little bit better. It appears to be a steel building that potentially buckled in the middle. That's the building that collapsed. Now, as this video sort of takes you around, you can see a yellow crane as well. Now, we don't have official confirmation that that crane fell on the building and that's what potentially caused that building collapse, but you can see the crane there on the building. And again, it appears it could have fallen on that building. We are waiting for more details from Boise Fire here in a few minutes about what they know happened so far. This is a live shot of the scene from a different vantage point across the freeway from that area right now. Again, West Rickenbacker and Luke Street. South Wright Street is closed. That frontage road next to the freeway, earlier traffic was affected, but that traffic, as you saw in that live shot, did appear to let up. I have Sophia Bliss with me now. Sophia, you looked into this specific parcel of land. We can see with that steel building, it appears it's under construction. What did you learn?
So I got a permit that I found through the city of Boise, and there is new construction approved at 4049 West Wright Street. On this permit, it lists Jackson Jet Center, and it lists a new build of a new hangar. The parcel is owned by one party, but there are two buildings on it. So I called the other business that's listed as this neighbor. It is Firehawk Helicopters, and I called them and a manager confirmed they are next door to where this incident happened, and it is the Jackson's Jet Center. But the manager said he didn't hear anything in particular. He didn't notice anything out of the ordinary today, but while he didn't hear anything, people were still working there today, and he said some of the other people working did hear something.
Okay, well, we do have reports of several injuries. We don't know the extent of the injuries, how many people were injured. We're working with the hospital systems right now to see if any of those folks are being transported here locally. Sophia, did any of the folks that work for him tell him any other information that he was able to provide to you?
He did not relay that to me, but he said that there was other things that people noticed and people heard. So I've reached out to them. Hopefully they reach back out to me and we'll share a little bit of what they heard tonight. Okay,
so just to reiterate what you just told me, we did get confirmation through a building permit on the city of Boise that Jackson's Jet Center was building a new hangar there. Okay, all right, Sophia, thank you. And you know, these are the details that we are actively working on for you guys right now. We're actively trying to get information from Boise Fire and all parties involved. We have reached out to Jeff Jackson and asking for confirmation and more information from him as well. Again, we are expecting a press conference from Boise Fire to provide more information. But again, I'm just going to relay to you what we know so far. Emergency responders, police, ambulance, you can see paramedics there, as well as Boise Fire are on scene of a building collapse at West Rickenbacker Street and Luke Street. Reports of multiple injuries. The airport, we should note, is not impacted. Search and rescue efforts are underway. Wright Street is currently closed. There is a media staging area that's at Orchard and Wright, and that is where Abby Davis is right now. We are going to wait for information from her, from Boise Fire, to give us all the latest details. We are back after this. All right, we've been waiting for that news conference from Boise Fire, and it appears that they may be setting up here shortly. I did just get information from St. Alphonsus Regional Medical Center, who said it's aware of the building collapse event near the Boise Airport. Emergency and trauma teams are working closely with emergency first responders to provide immediate care and treat patients arriving from the scene. All right, Boise Fire getting set up there now to provide us more information on that building collapse, where we're learning several people were injured. We don't know how this collapse happened, but in this video that we received from a viewer earlier, you can see it collapsed right there. All right, we're going to take this news conference now.
You bet. So my name's Aaron Hummel, Aaronhummel. I'm the operations chief for Boise Fire. With me is the airport director, Rebecca Hupp. We had a incident tonight that we were notified about 5 p.m. Unfortunately, there was a collapse of a building that was under construction. So I understand it was a hangar that was under construction. We did have about a dozen people that were impacted as far as being in or around the collapse area. We've had numerous transports on this, and I'm not going to get into the condition of individual patients because we're trying to get a hold of all family members and so forth. Boise police are working to help with the reunification of any family members. Any other specific questions for you?
Who owns the property that the hangar's on?
It is on the Boise Airport's property, but it was not a city facility. It's a private.
The construction company working on the project?
I don't actually know the construction company, nor do I know which crane was being used that was involved.
And it was the Jackson Jet Center hangar?
I've heard that. It's adjacent to the Jackson Jet Center building, but I don't know exactly who owned the project.
Is the Firehawk helicopter pad, is that part of Jackson's too? Because it seemed like it was right in front.
Do you know the answer to that question?
Jackson Jet Center actually owns the Firehawk facility as well.
Okay, good
Yeah.
to know.
When you say about a dozen people impacted, does that mean injured? Were there any fatalities? Can you give any details?
Yeah, there were a dozen people injured. I can't speak to the condition of individual patients. We're trying to get a hold of family members at this time. I know that we had about 7 fire engines, 3 ladder trucks, probably at least a dozen ambulances that came to the scene tonight, in addition to an initial response from the airport. The accident did not impact air operations. We maintained fire protection coverage during the incident for the aircraft that were coming and going during the incident.
What caused the collapse?
We don't know that yet. Boise Police is heading up the investigation. We have an OSHA investigator here as well at this point. That'll be part of the investigation group.
What hospitals were the victims taken to?
I don't know exactly which, if it was multiple hospitals or if it was just one.
Okay.
I haven't gotten that information.
Can you explain what you mean by collapse exactly?
Yeah, there was a large-scale collapse of the building, the framework of the building. I don't know what caused it. But I can tell you that it was a pretty global collapse that occurred. The main structural members came down. It was fairly catastrophic.
Was it attached to the crane at the time? I saw the crane in the middle.
I know that they were actually placing some sort of members at the time, and it did collapse the crane as a result of the building collapsing.
So the crane did fall on the structure
I
of
think
the
that,
hangar?
yeah, I don't know exactly because I didn't see it beforehand, but I know the crane was impacted.
Do you know the state of the building beforehand? Like, what was it fully built?
Oh no, it was there was what's called a rigid steel frame that had been erected, and they were still working on some of those structural components, tying those together.
Search and rescue efforts, when did those wrap up? Are they ongoing?
We've accounted for everybody that was in or around the collapse area. We did have some that were challenging, and that there was hoists and so forth that our technical rescue team made entry and were able to rescue those people.
Do you know about how many people were in the area during the time?
I know we have a dozen people or so that were injured in the collapse. I don't know exactly beyond that how many people happened to be around and maybe saw it and weren't injured.
So what happens during the night?
This will be all night long. We're preparing for scene lighting and so forth. Obviously, we have a lot of investigation to do. The primary concern right now is we need to make contact with family members so they can be reunified and so forth.
And just to confirm, everyone is accounted for at this point?
We've accounted for everybody, yes. Yes.
Are there any concerns about further collapses around that area?
No, I don't believe so.
when you first arrived, was it secure when they first arrived?
Absolutely not. I mean, it was a very chaotic scene, as you can probably imagine, when initial units got here. I didn't get here till much later,
Right.
but yeah, it was a pretty chaotic scene initially.
So what's that process like when you show up to a hangar in such conditions?
Sure.
So your guys and girls are safe going in.
Sure. Yeah, that's the first thing. We always do some type of initial size up to try to figure out what type of threats we have to not only civilians but responders, and really power lines down, anything like that. So we have to take a pretty cautious approach, try to figure out what we're going to need for resources, which is why we had a pretty significant fire and EMS response and police response tonight.
Who initially called it in? Do you know?
I don't know. It was called into the 911 center. So. Yeah.
Did you say how many fatalities there are?
We're not releasing condition of any patients at this point because we're trying to contact family members. I can tell you there was about a dozen people that were injured in the collapse.
What was the name of the company working?
I don't know the name of the construction company. I don't know the name of the crane. I know that the building was under construction adjacent to Jackson Jet. That's about all we know at this point.
But the property is owned by the airport.
It is on
city,
it is on city property. It's the airport's property, but it was not a city building. It was a private building.
When will that information about the victims be released?
Once we're able to contact the family, and we'll coordinate that with Boise Police.
What is the state of the mind of the first responders who are assisting with the search and rescue?
That's a real challenge for us. We do have a peer support team that is working with our responders. It's when we have major incidents, that's something that we've in recent years really tried to pay attention to, and we do have that process already in motion.
I know you can't give status of how many people have died, but can you confirm whether or not any have?
I cannot, not at this point.
There's also a lot of construction going on at the Boise Airport right now. How will this impact other construction projects?
Yeah, I'll pass that to the airport director, if you don't mind.
We do have a number of projects under construction right now at the airport that are airport projects. I would say they are substantially more complete than what this project was. This was a very early stage project and only had framework up. Most of our projects that are currently under construction are in the final completion stages, but of course we're going to be focused on safety.
But this was not a Boise Airport project.
This was not a Boise Airport project. No, it's on the airfield, so it's on airport property because we own all of the property around the airfield, but there are many private facilities on airport property. That lease space, correct, sir.
Was the crane a city crane or was it a private crane?
It was not a city crane.
Any other questions before we wrap up?
Is the site secure? Is there concerns around gas leaks or anything like that?
Nope, we've made sure that there's no utility issues or anything in the area, so the scene is secure. There's no threat to the public. We do have it locked down. Wright Street is pretty much entirely closed so that we can have emergency vehicles and investigators going through.
So this will be closed throughout the night, you think?
I don't know if it'll be closed all night. That's something that I'll work with Boise Police on. But we'll tweet that out. Any follow-up updates we'll send out via our Boise Fire Department Twitter page.
How long did it take to get everybody out? Do you have a time frame?
I'd be speculating at this point. I mean, I know by the time I got here, which is pretty late in the incident, there were some technical rescues that they were having to make just based on where some of the victims were located in the collapsed area. There was some type of hoist of some sort that they were elevated. They had to conduct some sort of a technical rescue to get them down.
You said you don't know the construction company that was working on
Correct.
it right now. Do you know if any officials from that unknown construction company came on site?
Our command post was on the airfield side, which is secured by airport operations. So we didn't have people come over to our actual command post. We had responders on the non-airfield side, though.
Okay.
Can you confirm if all of the victims were part of the construction crew?
I don't know that for fact. I mean, I don't know that for fact.
Do we know total how many were working? Did I miss that? Did we know total?
I believe the initial report we got was there was 30 people in the area or something, if I'm just trying to remember from the dispatch notes.
Okay.
But like I said, I know there was a dozen that were injured. You got anything else?
You said it was a crane that fell on the structure.
No, that's not accurate. I don't know exactly what caused it. The structure collapsed and it did impact the crane, and so the crane is collapsed as well. I don't know I don't know exactly what caused it at this point.
When can we expect another press conference, or another one tomorrow morning?
We'll provide any updates as they come in.
Yeah, we'll tweet out if we're going to do another press conference. We'll send that on our Twitter page, but we'll probably just be sending out updates via our social media.
Tonight, you don't think?
I don't think so. Probably not.
All right, Boise Fire just giving their news conference now. We are learning a few more details tonight. They said that a dozen people, or about a dozen people, were injured and transported. All of those individuals have been accounted for. However, Boise Fire could not speak to the condition of those individuals at this time. You heard reporters asking if there have been any deaths related to this building collapse, but Hummel could not say whether or not there have been fatalities at this time. He did say they're trying to get a hold of family members, they're reuniting people, and those that have been injured have been transported. Again, about a dozen people. He says 30 people, initial reports came in that 30 people were working in that area at this time. He also confirmed that the building that collapsed, you can see in the video, I'm going to call for some video now, it buckled there in the middle. It appears to be a steel building that was under construction, and that building did belong to Jackson Jet Center. Our Sophia Bliss is learning. We went through some Boise City permits. Sophia, you learned that this parcel, we learned in this press conference, this parcel was not maybe owned by Jackson, it was owned by the city of Boise because it's Boise Airport property, but it was Jackson's Jet Center that was building a new hangar?
Yes, so the Boise Fire Department confirmed that this new build is adjacent to the Jackson's Jet Center. And I found a permit from the city of Boise that has new construction listed for Jackson's Jet Center and a hangar. So I think we can assume that the hangar adjacent is a new one for Jackson's Jet Center. Also, this parcel has two buildings on it. The other building is Firehawk helicopters. So I gave them a call, talked to the manager, and he said he didn't hear anything out of the ordinary. He didn't experience anything out of the ordinary, but people working there today did. Okay. So I don't know what they heard. Maybe they heard a crash, noticed something else. So I'm not sure what they heard tonight. But I'll also add, from a meteorology standpoint, I know we had some gusty winds earlier, and if that crane was in operation and we had some of those higher wind gusts, I would assume they would need to account for those.
Yeah.
But we don't know how the crane plays into this. We don't know what happened first.
Yeah.
But certainly some gusty winds out there today. And typically 50 miles an hour gusts is where we would see those more so the damaging winds. And today they were in the upper 30s, low 40s. So that's not typically my first thought with wind gusts like that.
Got it. Okay, that's really good context. You heard from Boise Fire Division Chief Aaron Hummel, that's who spoke, and he said that we can't say whether or not the crane collapsed on the building or the building collapsed on the crane. They don't know. They're investigating that at this time, but he did say that the crane also collapsed and was impacted. Here's a photo of that crane right now. You can see it. Anybody who was driving on I-84 saw this. It's just off South Wright Road, or Wright Street, which is closed at this time. Traffic was impacted for a little bit. Again, we want to mention we do not know the condition of these individuals, but we do know that about a dozen people were injured in this building collapse that happened earlier tonight. We also got a statement from St. Alphonsus. We reached out asking if they're taking any patients, and here's what they said. St. Alphonsus Regional Medical Center is aware of the building collapse event near the Boise Airport. Emergency and trauma teams are working closely with emergency first responders to provide immediate care and treat patients arriving from the scene. Again, that's from St. Alphonsus. Hummel calling it earlier a catastrophic building collapse, a large-scale building collapse. He said it was really chaotic when they got there. Boise police initially responded. Dozens of police cars were there. Paramedics arrived, Boise Fire as well. Search and rescue efforts were underway for quite some time, but tonight everyone is accounted for, and Hummel did add that there is no further concern about any further collapse of that building. Again, Boise Airport confirming tonight it owns that property, and we learned through some City of Boise permits that it's likely that the Jackson's Jet Center was building this new building, and Boise Fire confirmed that new building was a hangar. We're going to have all the latest information about this breaking news as it continues to come in right here on KTVB on the news at 10, as well as on ktvb.com. We'll see you tonight.